Have you ever reheated leftovers, thinking it's just an easy, harmless way to enjoy another meal? What if I told you that something as simple as warming up last night's dinner could slowly be harming your body, maybe even your brain? It sounds unbelievable, but it's true. Doctors are now warning that certain everyday foods, when reheated the wrong way, can become toxic, and in some cases, even increase your risk of cancer or dementia. And here's the scary part. These are not strange or exotic dishes. These are foods most of us eat every single week, especially those of us living alone, cooking in small portions, or saving meals to reheat later. If you're over 65, your body processes food differently than it did 30 years ago. Your digestion slows, your immune defenses change, and your brain becomes more vulnerable to toxins that younger people might easily fight off. So today, we're going to uncover 5 common foods hiding in your kitchen right now, foods that can silently turn against you when reheated, and how to stay safe. But before we dive into it, if you find value in this kind of information, please give this video a like, and don't forget to subscribe. It means so much to us, and it helps us create more useful videos just for you. And no, this is not about throwing away your favorite meals. This is about protecting your health, your memory, and your precious years ahead. Let's begin. Let's start with something that's on nearly every dinner table: rice. Soft, simple, filling, and seemingly innocent. But for seniors like you and me, reheated rice can be one of the most dangerous foods in your fridge. You see, rice may look clean and harmless, but it can carry something very sneaky, a type of bacteria called Bacillus cereus. Now here's the thing, this bacteria doesn't come from a dirty kitchen or bad cooking. Even freshly cooked rice can already contain tiny spores of this bacteria. The real danger begins after the rice is cooked. If that rice is left sitting out at room temperature, even for a couple of hours, those spores can wake up, grow, and start releasing toxins that no amount of reheating can destroy. Let me repeat that. Even if you reheat the rice thoroughly, the toxins stay. They don't break down with heat. And once they're in your system, they can cause severe nausea, vomiting, stomach cramps, and even dehydration. Now, for a younger person, that might mean a rough night. But for someone over 65, maybe someone living alone, with weaker digestion or taking medications, it can turn into a hospital visit. Let me tell you a real story. A woman named Joyce from Arizona, she's 72, active, and lives independently, shared her story in a senior wellness forum. She cooked a batch of brown rice one evening, left it out while she watched a movie, and put it in the fridge hours later. The next morning, she reheated it and had it with her eggs. Within 2 hours, she was sweating, dizzy, and vomiting. Her daughter took her to urgent care, where the doctor told her she had a form of mild food poisoning caused by improperly stored rice. Joyce had no idea. She thought as long as she reheated it thoroughly, it would be safe. But it wasn't. And unfortunately, her story isn't unique. Why is this especially dangerous for seniors? Well, as we age, our stomach acid weakens, which means we're less able to kill off harmful bacteria and toxins in food. Our immune system becomes slower to respond, and we may not even notice early symptoms until it's too late. That's why what you do with your rice after cooking it is critical. Here's how to handle rice safely. Let's keep this simple and doable. First, as soon as your rice finishes cooking, let it cool quickly. Don't leave it sitting in the rice cooker or on the counter for hours. Second, once it's no longer steaming hot, transfer it to a shallow container and refrigerate it within 1 hour. Third, eat leftovers within 1 day, 2 days at most. Don't stretch it out over several days like many people tend to do. And finally, when reheating, make sure it's steaming hot all the way through, not lukewarm, not just warm in the middle. But even more important than reheating is how you store it after cooking. What about microwaving rice? Microwaves are tricky. They often heat unevenly, leaving cold spots where bacteria can survive. If you're using a microwave, stir halfway through heating, and cover the container to retain steam and ensure more even heat distribution. A gentle warning, rice has been a staple in many of our kitchens for generations. But today's food safety landscape is different. Our immune systems change, our bodies change, and we simply can't take the same chances we did at 30 or 40. Being cautious isn't being paranoid, it's being wise. It's loving yourself enough to take simple steps that can protect your well-being. So next time you cook rice, remember Joyce's story. Store it smart, reheat it safely, or better yet, cook just enough for the meal. Fresh is always best. Your health is worth more than one extra serving of leftovers. Let's move on to the next food. It might surprise you even more. I used to think spinach was one of the best things I could put on my plate. My doctor loved it. My dietitian recommended it. And honestly, I loved it too. Steamed, sautéed, in a soup, in an omelet. It felt like I was doing something good for my body. And at my age, that matters. But one evening, that little pile of green on my plate made me question everything I thought I knew. It was nothing dramatic at first. I had reheated some spinach from 2 nights ago, just a bit I had saved in the fridge. Microwaved it like usual. It smelled fine, looked fine. But less than an hour later, I felt a strange lightheadedness. My heart was racing slightly, and I couldn't quite catch my breath. It wasn't panic, it wasn't nerves. It was subtle, but it was real. A few days later, I read an article in a health magazine for seniors. And there it was. Why reheating spinach can be harmful, especially over 65. That got my full attention. Here's what I learned. Spinach is rich in nitrates, which are good for you when eaten fresh. They help your blood vessels relax, support circulation, even help with high blood pressure. But when cooked spinach is left sitting, and then reheated, those helpful nitrates can transform into nitrites, and even into nitrosamines, which have been linked to cancer, cell damage, and oxygen disruption in the blood. Our bodies, especially as we age, don't handle those changes as well. What was once a healthy choice can become a risk. I thought of that moment at the microwave. Just a few seconds of heat, and I thought I was doing something smart. But now, I see it differently. So here's what I do now, and maybe it'll help you too. I cook only what I'll eat fresh, no big batches of spinach sitting in the fridge. If I do store it, I cool it fast, seal it well, and eat it within 24 hours. No exceptions. I never microwave spinach. If I reheat it, I do it gently on the stove, or better yet, just toss it out and make a new batch. And when I make soup, I add fresh spinach at the end, just before serving, so it's not cooked, cooled, and cooked again. I haven't had that lightheaded feeling since. And I haven't forgotten that quiet little scare. It's strange how one of the healthiest things we can eat can turn on us just because of how we handle it. But that's aging, isn't it? We don't stop eating smart. We just get smarter about how we eat. So yes, keep your spinach. Love your greens. But treat them gently. And treat yourself gently, too. Coming up next, we're heading to the breakfast table, where something as simple as an egg can surprise you. Let's talk about what happens when you reheat the wrong kind of protein and how your liver might pay the price. Now, let's move on to a breakfast classic, one that many of us have enjoyed for decades. Boiled, scrambled, poached, or baked. Eggs. They're high in protein, full of essential vitamins, and easy to digest. For many seniors, eggs are a go-to meal. Quick, simple, and affordable. But here's something most people don't realize. Reheating eggs the wrong way can actually do more harm than good, especially to your liver. Let's break it down. When eggs are freshly cooked, their proteins are well structured and easy for your body to process. But when eggs are reheated, especially at high heat or in the microwave, those proteins break down and recombine in ways your body doesn't recognize. The result? Strained digestion, inflammation, and oxidative stress on the liver. Over time, this stress can lead to fatigue, discomfort, and even damage to liver function, particularly if you already have conditions like fatty liver, high cholesterol, or diabetes. And here's something important. As we get older, our livers become less efficient at processing toxins. So even a small mistake, like microwaving yesterday's eggs, can have an outsized impact. Let me share a story from one of our viewers. Dennis, 74, from Michigan, told us he used to make a batch of hard-boiled eggs every Sunday to last him the whole week. He'd reheat them in the microwave, usually with a bit of cheese and toast. Over time, he started feeling sluggish after breakfast. At first, he thought it was just part of aging, but lab tests showed elevated liver enzymes and mild gallbladder stress. His doctor asked him about his diet. When Dennis mentioned reheated eggs, the doctor nodded and said, "Let's cut those out for a month and see what happens." Sure enough, within 3 weeks, Dennis said his energy was back, his stomach felt lighter, and his follow-up blood work looked better. Now, I'm not telling you to stop eating eggs, but here's how to handle them safely, especially if you're over 65. If you're cooking eggs, eat them right away, when they're fresh and warm. That's when they're healthiest. Avoid reheating scrambled or fried eggs altogether. These are the most likely to develop harmful compounds when reheated. If you must reheat hard-boiled eggs, peel them first and gently warm them in hot water, not the microwave. Keep the heat low and even. Never reheat eggs more than once. If you've stored them once and reheated them once, don't put them back in the fridge for later. And one more important point. If you're meal prepping, like many seniors do to save time, consider adding the eggs fresh each day rather than cooking them in bulk for the whole week. Your liver will thank you. A kind reminder, eggs can be a wonderful part of a senior's diet, nutritious, satisfying, and full of good fats. But if we don't respect how delicate they are once cooked, we may end up burdening our bodies instead of nourishing them. So next time you crack an egg, remember, it's not just what you eat, it's how you prepare and reheat it that matters most. Coming up next, a favorite in almost every kitchen, but when reheated, it can quietly threaten your heart and gut. Let's talk about chicken. When I was 30, I could eat just about anything. Leftover chicken from the night before? No problem. Microwave it, drizzle some sauce, and get on with my day. But now, at 70-something, I've learned that my body doesn't respond the same way, especially when it comes to chicken. You see, chicken is a good food. High in protein, low in fat. Doctors recommend it. Nutritionists love it. But what they don't always say out loud is this: reheating cooked chicken, especially the wrong way, can quietly hurt your body. When chicken is cooked, cooled, and then reheated, the protein structure changes. It becomes harder to digest, especially for aging digestive systems. What was once lean fuel for your muscles now becomes a burden on your gut, your liver, even your heart. At 30, your body could process that changed protein without a hiccup. At 75, not so much. The result? Stomach discomfort, inflammation, fatigue, and in some cases, long-term exposure can lead to oxidative stress, the kind linked to cell damage and even cancer in the digestive tract. And then there's the issue of bacteria. Chicken is notorious for harboring salmonella or campylobacter, which can survive if the meat isn't reheated evenly or thoroughly. And guess what? Microwaves are terrible at heating evenly. Cold spots can mean surviving bacteria. And at our age, food poisoning isn't just unpleasant, it can be dangerous. So here's the question I started asking myself, and maybe you should too. Is this chicken still helping me? or has it quietly started to hurt me? Now, I don't want to scare you away from eating chicken. I still enjoy it myself. But I treat it differently now. More gently. More thoughtfully. Here's how I do it. I cook smaller portions, enough for 1 or 2 meals, not the whole week. If I have leftovers, I store them in shallow containers and cool them quickly. I reheat on the stovetop or in the oven, never in the microwave. I make sure it's hot all the way through, steaming, not just warm. And I never reheat the same piece twice. Once is enough. And when I'm not sure, I let it go. Because at this stage of life, my peace of mind is worth more than a leftover drumstick. Some things we used to do when we were younger don't serve us anymore. And that's okay. Wisdom isn't just about knowing more. It's about changing, even in small ways, when we know better. So next time you reach for leftover chicken, just pause. Ask yourself, is this the way I want to nourish my body today? Your future self will thank you. Coming up next, a food that feels the most innocent of all, but under the wrong conditions, it can produce one of the most dangerous toxins known to man. Health alert, seniors. Listen carefully. If you've ever baked a potato, wrapped it in foil, then left it sitting out on the counter, you could be creating a perfect home for one of the deadliest toxins known to man. It's called botulinum toxin, the poison behind botulism. And it doesn't need to smell bad, look strange, or taste off. Just warmth, moisture, low oxygen, like what happens inside a foil-wrapped potato left at room temperature overnight. And for seniors, botulism can be deadly. Symptoms start subtly: dizziness, muscle weakness, blurry vision, trouble breathing. You might think it's your blood pressure or fatigue. But it could be toxin exposure from last night's side dish. Here's what you need to remember. Never leave baked potatoes wrapped in foil at room temperature. Remove the foil immediately after baking. Refrigerate within 1 hour. Reheat thoroughly, never partially. Don't reheat more than once. When in doubt, throw it out. Helen and George, both in their 70s, didn't know this. They got sick after reheating foil-wrapped potatoes 2 days in a row. Thankfully, they recovered, but it was a wake-up call. Don't let it happen to you. Potatoes are wholesome, nourishing, and simple. But when stored the wrong way, they can become quietly dangerous. So next time you enjoy a baked potato, remember, it's not just what you eat, it's how you handle it. And sometimes, safety is as simple as unwrapping the foil. Let's sit together for just a moment. You've heard a lot today about rice, spinach, eggs, chicken, potatoes, all so familiar, all so comforting. And yet, each with a story we didn't expect. If you're feeling a little surprised, even a bit overwhelmed, I understand. So was I, when I first learned that something as simple as reheating a meal could carry hidden risks. But this isn't about fear. It's about care. Care for your body. Care for your future. And care for the quiet years still waiting ahead. When we were younger, we rushed. We ate what we had, however we had it. But now is the time to slow down. To honor the body that has carried us through decades. To listen more closely to what it needs. Because protecting yourself doesn't mean giving things up. It simply means learning, growing, making wiser choices. That's what we've done together today. So here's what I hope you take with you. Be gentle with leftovers. Be cautious with the microwave. Keep an eye on what goes into your fridge and how long it stays. And most of all, trust your instincts. If something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. And you deserve better than probably. Thank you for staying with me till the end. If this video gave you something helpful, a tip, a shift in thinking, a small bit of peace, please give it a like and consider subscribing to this channel. Not for the numbers, but because it tells me you're out there, listening, learning, living fully. And if you've ever had a moment where food made you feel unwell, I invite you to share it in the comments. You're not alone, and your story might help someone else tonight. We're building a space here where age is respected, where health is honored, and where you are the priority. Until next time, take care of yourself. You've come so far, and I believe your best years are still ahead.